Natimirandasyangananganasarakya chaksurun militam yana tajmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Stapitam Yana Bhutale Swayam Rupakaramayam Dharati Swaparantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Stam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savidutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shubhishakan Vitam Sya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesa Sunyodi Praskita De Sadharini Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayadhiri Nishtapriyashu Bhadvesu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagatiyodamashuki Bhakti Bhavati Naishiki Nigamakaparagaritam Param Shukamagaramita Japi Samitam Pivata Bhagatam Rashamariyam Mahodhorishika Bhuvyakam Krishna Sadham Bhagate Dharmigani Karonashtadi Shamasho Paranako Duno Ditaham Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So happy to be back with you after the weekend. It's still the weekend, actually. Today is Memorial Day. We remember Krishna. Take it as an occasion to remember Krishna. Chant a few extra rounds. Read a little extra. Cook some special prasadam and offer to your home deity. Visit the temple. All these are the best means of celebrating Memorial Day. Day of remembrance. What it is that we have to be grateful for. Good morning, Brent. Thanks for joining us. Hare Krishna, Govinda Dave, Natasha, good morning. She says we're on baby duty. I figured Memorial Day weekend, you had something to occupy you. Well, we had a good crowd, actually, extraordinary good crowd yesterday on Sunday. We had a good crowd Saturday evening as well in Salt Lake City. And I want to report to you also that Nrsimha Chaturdasi, the observance of Nrsimha's appearance day, last Tuesday, especially the Salt Lake City Appearance Day celebrations, which involved a bathing ceremony. A special kirtan, Radhika Raman, was present with his family. Anutama, GBC from the East Coast, head of iskcon Public Relations, with his wife Rukmini, were in town. Anutama gave a wonderful, very relatable talk to an audience of over 100 people on a Tuesday night. Can you imagine? In Salt Lake City Temple. And I heard some of Anutama's talk on Facebook Live. Very, very, very relatable to a primarily Western audience. Even though he's a GBC, an exalted member of iskcon, far above my stature, in his humility, he and his wife brought gifts for me and Bhai Bobby. I got a beautiful kurta, in which I got a lot of compliments when I wore it last night at our Sunday Peace program, and Bhai Bobby also wore the beautiful sari that had been gifted to us by Anutama and his wife Rukmini. A wonderful, exemplary couple in Krishna consciousness. He was here, incidentally, at the opening of our Spanish Fort Temple on June 23rd, 2001. He was here as a guest speaker also at the opening of our Salt Lake City Temple on August 19th, 2019. I'm not sure if he's going to make it for our 20th anniversary celebration, which is upcoming on Sunday, the June 20th, from 5 until 9 in the evening. We'll have continuous prasadam served outdoor on the veranda. On the lake stage, we'll have speakers from both the Mormon and the Krishna community. I've invited several of the local dancers to present on the stage there as well, and there'll be continuous kirtan and darshan available in the temple room. So that'll be Sunday, June 20th, the 20th anniversary celebration of the opening of the Krishna Temple in Spanish Fort. Everybody's invited, free of charge, free prasadam, free entertainment, free going back to home, back to God. And prior to that, we have the first live Holy Festival of Colors in about 18 months. No, probably actually 2 years. It'll be in Salt Lake City on June the 12th. That's a Saturday from 11 till 5. You can get tickets at festivalofcolorsusa.com. So go ahead and buy the tickets. The Gujarati community, Gujarati Cultural Association will be at the door admitting people, and they don't want to handle any more cash than is absolutely necessary. So please keep yourself safe, keep them safe. buy your tickets online, or if you decide to pay a little bit more on the day of the festival, bring your credit card rather than cash. All right, that's all of our housekeeping for today. Let's launch into a brand new verse. I think we took 11 sessions on the last verse. Tadbag bishargo jaratava vivro yasmin pradishokam abhidavati namami antasya shinvanti gayanti gunati sadavan. Following that is this also equally famous verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 15th verse, 5th chapter, 1st canto. Classic verse. Jujupsidam dharma kritena shashita shabhava raktasya mahan vyatukramaha tadbhakyato dharma titara shtito namanyate tasya nivaranam janaha. If you have your books open or your phones, your digital software open, you can read along with me. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy. This is Narada Muni appearing before his disciple in the time of need, just like Krishna ministered to Arjuna in his time of depression and confusion. That ministration became classically and famously known throughout the ages as the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God. So this is the Song of Narada to his disciple, Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is a compiler of all the Vedic literatures. The Vedas encompass all areas of knowledge, mundane and spiritual, exhaustive, voluminous. Many of the original Vedas are lost to us now, but unimaginable output, literary output for an ordinary human being. In fact, Vyasadeva is called Mahamuni Kimva Para Sadyo Ridyavaru Chitetra Kadubishushu Bishitatsana. He's specially empowered as a literary incarnation of God to have produced such an awesome, mind-boggling body of literature covering every area of knowledge. In fact, the Vedas translated means knowledge. So every area of knowledge is covered by Vyasadeva, save and except one, and that's what our subject matter is today. Vyasadeva, after having ingested, processed, embedded all knowledge, and then shared it with human society in the form of the Vedas, still not happy, depressed, feels like I've missed something, just like Arjuna feels like on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, what am I missing here? So Vyasadeva is thinking, you'd think after all that, I'd be happy. And how many of us are at that stage in our life? You'd think after doing everything society tells me I should do, go to school for so many years, get myself locked into a job, make some money, get a house, get a car, have children. I've done it all. I'm so good. But something's missing. There's still a big hole in my life. It's not a small hole. It's a big hole. It's a God-sized hole. So how many of you are honestly admitting that you've reached that stage in your life as well? Vyasadeva, he's far further along than us in terms of knowledge, in terms of doing what needed to be done. And yet, he sits despondent and depressed, wondering, what did I miss? Why is there still this big vacancy in my heart? And in his time of need, that's what the guru is there for. In fact, most of us don't care for spiritual instruction. We don't care to acknowledge authorities, to serve them or acquire from them submissively because we think we've got it covered. But when something happens unexpected, when our plans, the roof falls in on us, or the trap door opens on our plans, things haven't gone as we had hoped they would go, then we kind of become more receptive to spiritual transcendental knowledge. When we ask the questions, why? Then the answers are presented before us. Whether we're willing to accept them or not, that's another thing. It says, seek and ye shall find. Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagavana Jiva Guru Krishna Pashadi Bhai Bhakti Latabish. Spirit souls forgetting God, forgetting the prime imperative of the human form of life. We transmigrate through all the various species, from Lord Brahma down to the ant. We take birth on the planets from lower, middle, Bhurba Shva, revolving in who knows how many incarnations since time immemorial. But when one finally starts seriously, Atato Brahma Jigyasha, what is it all about? What am I here for? Why am I suffering? Why am I not happy in spite of having done so many things that were expected of me? At that point, Krishna appears before one. Krishna is inside of one's heart. He's always present as the super soul of the Paramatma. But when one becomes full of anguish, one becomes intensely inquisitive. Artav Jignashyajati Gyani Cha Bharatarshava. Krishna appears before us as the Guru, the bona fide spiritual master. And if we're willing to listen to him, render service to him, and inquire, Tadvidi Pranipanena Pariprashanena Upadaksanti Te Gyanam Gyanina Sadvivayana, then the answer will come. Just like in the summer, the small lakes and ponds and reservoirs become muddy. Sediment gets stirred up throughout the heat of the summer. But when the autumnal rains come, the effect of the autumnal rains on those small reservoirs of water is that the sediment sinks to the bottom and the waters become crystal clear. You can see rocks and little fish on the bottom, which you couldn't do during the murkiness of the summer months. So the words of the spiritual master have such power as to clear up confusion in our lives and make our identity self-evident, and consequently make our duties in life as well self-evident. So Vyasadeva is being ministered to by his guru in his time of need. And the translation of this verse is, Narada Muni speaking here, chastising slightly, just as Krishna, first words out of Krishna's mouth when Arjuna surrendered to him were, Asochams, non-basochams, pragna gatasams, you're mourning for what is not worthy of grief, the wise lament, neither for the living or the dead. Krishna tells Arjuna that your problem is that you're identifying with matter rather than identifying with spirit. There's a mood of chastisement there. Similarly, Narada Muni chastises a disciple. It's a little tough love here. The people in general are inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your instructions, they will accept sex activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions. Narada Muni is saying basically to Vyasadeva, number one, what you've done is condemned from a pure spiritual perspective. Furthermore, he says, you're misleading people, you're guiding people in the wrong direction because you're showing them how, through religious practices and pujas and worship, they can enrich themselves materially. This is a misconception. This is a wrong notion. Religious pujas and rituals, churches, synagogues, temples, and mosques were never meant for people to attend and pray to get further entangled, further imprisoned in this material conditioned life of birth, death, disease, and old age. So you've completely foisted a misconception on people. We can imagine Vyasadeva is feeling pretty bad now, as his guru has told him that what he's done is condemned and he's misled people. In the name of religion, he has put a stamp of approval on kama, artha, dharma, moksha, sense gratification, economic development, religiosity, and liberation. Well, you can imagine this didn't do much to pick Vyasadeva up. Just like after Krishna told Arjuna he was a fool, certainly that wouldn't have done much to Arjuna's self-esteem. But the good news is that after having analyzed, just like the doctor, you sit there and he says you have cancer. Well, that's not the best thing that you want to hear. It's not the way to start your day. But then the doctor's going to tell you how you can beat it. You have to eat certain foods. You have to exercise. You have to get a lot of sunlight. And he says how you can get back to health. You can't start the climb back to health unless until you get those shocking words, you have cancer. What you've done is verily condemned. Or Krishna or Arjuna, you are a fool. You have to get the patient's attention first, their full attention. Make sure they're totally serious about the challenge, the road which lies ahead. This is the duty of the physician, to impress upon the patient the seriousness of their condition and how imperative it is that they take the cure so that they can be restored to health as quickly and as painlessly as possible. So, acting as all good physicians should. Narada Muni says what you've done is condemned. You've misled people. Basically, he's saying you shouldn't have compiled the Vedas. Now, that's not strictly true. But again, it's an attention-getting statement. It's a diagnosis of the ills of society and the fact that Vyasadeva has not given them the most powerful curative antibody. And it's explained in the purport by Srila Prabhupada that Narada Muni is foreseeing future circumstances. Where? Because there are certain statements in the Vedas that have to do with animal slaughter. People will take advantage of these statements and begin to wholesale slaughter animals in the name of religion. Now, where animal slaughter is mentioned in the Vedas, it is for certain specific, limited purposes. In fact, it is to do good to the animals. In some cases, the Brahmins can sacrifice an old animal by chanting mantras and showing the efficacy and the power of those mantras. They can give an old animal a new birth, or they can give an old animal liberation from birth, death, disease, and old age. That's a great boon, a benediction for the animal. It's never meant to kill the animal simply for the temporary satisfaction of one's taste buds. George Bernard Shaw, more than 100 years ago, he wrote about animal slaughter. We are the living graves of murdered beasts slaughtered to satisfy our appetites. We never pause to wonder at our feasts if animals like humans have rights. We pray on Sundays that we may have light to guide our footsteps on the path we tread. We're sick of war. We don't want to fight. Yet we gorge ourselves on the dead. Like carrion crow, we live and feed and meat, never considering the pain and suffering we cause. If thus we treat defenseless animals for sport or gain, how can we hope to attain the peace we say we are so anxious for? We pray for it over hecatombs of slain to God, while outraging the moral law. Cruelty begets its offspring, war. We shape ourselves the joys and fears of which the coming life is made, and fill our future's atmosphere with sunshine over shade. The tissues of the life to be we weave in colors all our own, and in the field of destiny we reap we have sown. Narada Muni, who sees past, present, and future, predicts that in the future, because Vyasadeva has opened the door for animal slaughter, he's only mentioned it under strict conditions. There are a lot of things one has to do before one can kill an animal. And even then, when one kills an animal, one does it on a dark moon night. You don't do animal slaughter openly in the light of day, but you do it in a dark moon night when there's not even the moonlight. That means you do it ashamedly. You do it secretly. It's not condoned. It's condemned. And so only the lowest class of people go out on the dark moon night, which is 1-2 nights, and they kill some lower animal like a goat in order to eat its flesh. And so from these expressions, we understand that animal slaughter is not recommended. There's no condoning of animal slaughter in Vedic times, and it's also very limited. If you can only do it on 1 or 2 nights a year, then your consumption of animal products is going to be extremely limited. But Narada Muni is envisioning a time when taking these statements out of context in the Vedic literatures, people will wholesale slaughter of animals. And if anyone were to question them out of a sensitivity or consideration for the animals, why are you doing this? They'll say, well, it's right there in the Vedas. Necessitating a whole incarnation of the Lord in the form of Lord Buddha to stop the animal slaughter. And in order to do that, he had to reject the Vedas. People say we're justifying animal slaughter in the strength of the Vedas, so Buddha had to say, well, I don't care for your Vedas. And basically, Buddha preached atheism, and on the strength of his character, the power of his personality, he was able to curb and bring animal slaughter to if not a stop, at least a slow roll when he appeared in India thousands of years ago. So Narada Muni is saying that if you do not strictly stick to the principle of devotional service as the sunum bonum, Later on he says, Savai pum sam parodamo yato bhakti haitakiyapachi yatma supersediti. The highest occupational duty, pum sam, for one who's achieved the human form of life, is unmotivated, uninterrupted, devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, yatma supersediti. Only that will satisfy the soul. Anyabilasita sanyam jnana karmari. The goal of life, the perfection for which we should aspire, is not mixed devotional service. Is not to do some worship, some lip service to Krishna in order to get stuff from him. That's not the purpose of religion. Religion is not to go to God with all your gimme, 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 gimmes. The purpose of religion, the purpose of scriptures, the purpose of worship is to offer yourself on the altar to the Lord. Not what you can do for me, Lord, but to come to the temple prepared, flexible, asking the Lord, what can I do for you? It is said by Frances Havergal, the bhakti Christian poet I call her. Take my life, Lord, and let it be consecrated to thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee. Take my lips and let them sing always only for my King. Take my mouth and let it be filled with messages from thee. Take my silver and my gold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my intellect, use every power thou shalt choose. Take my will and make it thine, it shall be no longer mine. Take my heart, it is thine own, it shall be thy royal throne. Take my love, my Lord, I pour at thy feet its treasure store. Take myself, and I will be ever only all for thee. This is pure, unalloyed, unmixed bhakti. There's no other motivation for serving the Lord other than that I am your eternal servant. When Nrsimhadev asked Prahlad, pastimes in Nrsimha and Prahlad are very much in our mind now, at the forefront of our mind, because of Nrsimhadev Appearance Day having been celebrated last Tuesday. So after killing Hiranyakashipu and saving Prahlad, Nrsimha wants to reward him for his steadfastness, even though he's tortured in so many ways, and his father attempted to kill him. Prahlad just remained meek and mild, never deviated from his faith in the Lord, his practice of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nrsimhadev asked him a boon. Prahlad immediately is like affronted. Nanyata hikaru gatita karu yashtashi nasa brita shavai vanik. I'm not a vanik. I'm not a merchant. I don't worship you in order to get something. Those who have the merchant mentality, they'll never give away anything unless they're getting something back on which they can make a profit. Religion is not meant for doing business with God. Religion is meant for surrendering wholeheartedly and unreservedly for the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj further says, Aham tvakamas tram bhakta, tram cha shrami anasprita, nanyete tatahor nata, Raja Sevaka Oriheva. My Lord, it's very simple. You are my master, and I am your servant. There is no other relationship between us other than Raja Sevaka. You are the king, and I am your subject. It's that simple. Don't ask me to accept a boon. If I accept a boon for you, then it will sully, it will taint our relationship. As it is right now, Mahamrita Magna Chito, Nevo Vijay Paradaitaranyav, Tadbirya Gayanam Mahamrita, so Chetito Vimuktache, Maya Shukaya Maya Mavna. As it is right now, when I'm serving you with all of my heart, all of my trust, not asking, trusting you, that if I serve you, you will provide abundantly, open-handedly for whatever my needs are. I haven't got to worry or work independently for my maintenance. I put that in your hands. Shri Shabha Pararampinasham Adarshana Mamahatam Yata Tata Vivadat Mat Prananata Stuteva Naparaham. You may make me broken-hearted by not being present before me. You may crush me in your embrace. Doesn't matter. Doesn't change my dependence on and trust in you. You are always my worshipable Lord, unconditionally. Mat prananata shtusa eva naparaham. Prahlad Maharaj is saying, I don't want to spoil the bliss right now in my position as an unmotivated, uninterrupted servant of yours. Whenever I chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, I merge. I go deep down into unlimited ocean of nectar. All the pleasures of this material world, including Brahmanda, including the pleasure of merging and becoming one with the Lord, are no more significant than an atomic particle of a drop of that ocean of nectar of devotion, which the pure devotee feels upon serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Prahlad further points out that this is a prerogative which is available only in the human form of life. Animals can occasionally, due to the inscrutable mercy of the Lord, get the opportunity to do devotional service. You just heard Pedro out there in the hallway screaming for attention. We have animals here in the complex in Spanish Fork, as you see behind me. And they bring hundreds, if not thousands, of people to the temple every year. I wish I could say I brought as many people to the temple as our llamas, or as our parrots, or as our cows, or as the koi, but I don't. Practically speaking, they're doing great service to the Lord, but it's not conscious, systematic service. It's incidental service. They're being themselves, they're following their natures, their concerns are not, how do I fulfill the purpose of life, but just eating, sleeping, mating, defending. But incidentally, and to their good fortune and by the causeless mercy of the Lord, they're doing great, great service here in our Spanish Fort complex. Especially we have 3 baby llamas. They're all born within the last 2 weeks. People come and they ooh and they ah, and they go back and they tell their friends about it. And with the nice weather and spring coming and Memorial Day weekend, we are mobbed. The buffet is mobbed, the gift store is mobbed, the animal park is mobbed. More people than we can even handle. And the animals are doing great service, but the shortcoming in their service is it's not conscious. It's not systematic. They're doing it incidentally, okay? But in the human form of a life, there is a responsibility to take this human form of life and exercise our unique prerogative. As I said, the animals eat, sleep, mate, and defend. So if, as human beings, it's all we do, eat, sleep, mate, and defend. Even if we do it in a very gorgeous, elaborate way. We eat in a fancy restaurant. We mate in special kinky ways on a waterbed, for instance. We defend with atomic bombs, ICBMs. Still, it's just polished animal life. It's not the human form of life. Human beings, and I concede you that it's been many, many prior incarnations, many, many prior births since time immemorial. We've been in this material world. We've been bugs, we've been reptiles, we've been plants, we've been trees, we've been demigods. Now, if you're looking at me in this Zoom program or on Facebook Live, it's to be assumed that you have the human form of life. The human form of life is extremely rare and valuable. If you do a lottery to get the human form of life, your ticket, human form, would come up only very, very rarely. Jala navalakani stavara krimayodu pakshanam dakshanam denam chatur lakani manusham. 8,400,000 species of life in this material world, material bodies, which the living beings, eternal parts and parcels of the Lord, accept because their consciousness has allowed itself to lapse into material identification in the 3 modes of material nature. There is goodness, passion, and ignorance. When we leave the spiritual world, we allow our consciousness to be tainted with envy of and the independent attitude with the relationship to the Supreme Personality of God, then we lapse into either goodness, passion, or ignorance. Just like a clear drop of rainwater, pure and pristine, soon as it contacts the earth, it becomes mud. So living beings who are parts and parcel of God, eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, we allowed ourselves to fall from the spiritual world, to contact matter, and we become affected and infected by the three modes of material nature. Purusha prakritisто hi bhakti karam guna sangha shad sada sadyona janamsha. We have become envious of the real, true enjoyer. We wanted to take the position, usurp the position of God ourselves. And as a result, we associated with the modes of material nature. And so those three modes of material nature basically churn out 8,400,000 species of life. Different combinations and permutations. Prabhupada said 3 times 3 equals 9, 9 times 9 equals 81, and then a few other variations. So 8,400,000 species of life, of which the humans are only 400,000. Now, of the 400,000 forms of human life, many of them are primitive, uncivilized. They live in jungles. They live under oppressive circumstances. They're forced to live little better than the animals. Out of hundreds of thousands of species of human life, only one gets to live civilized life. Only one gets to go to the temple or the church or the mosque and be exposed to scriptural injunction. Now, out of thousands and thousands who are going to church, who are living a quote-unquote affluent, civilized, pious, righteous life, the vast majority go to church, temple, or mosque in order to get something from God. They go with the gimme, 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 gimme mentality, taking religion as a pretext, as a platform to improve their chains, their enchained, imprisoned position in this material world, forgetting that we are eternal, forgetting that there should be no conditions on our life, what to speak of birth, death, disease, and old age. We find ourselves in this material world, bound by the gunas, the modes of material natures. Guna means ropes. Sometimes we're bound by golden ropes. Sometimes we're demigods. Sometimes we're bound by rough, crude ropes. Sometimes we're less than human and subhuman. But we're always bound, whether we're in a Class A prison, Class B prison, or a Class C prison cell. We're always in the prison in this material world. Some of us think, well, I'm more fortunate than others. I have a more bodily beauty. I have a more aristocratic birth, so I'm more fortunate. Actually, none of us is fortunate because we're supposed to be eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. We're supposed to be in the unlimited, unconditioned spiritual world, the kingdom of God, and we're so much lower than that. Now, when we get a human form of body, and having gotten a human form of body, we're fortunate enough to take birth in a religious, pious family, then we're especially fortunate enough if we intersect the Vedic literatures, which give us a structure by which we can gradually rise higher and higher to the ultimate platform of pure devotional service. In the human form of life, the only thing that distinguishes us from the animals is the ability to follow Vedic injunctions so that our work, our mind, and our consciousness and our desires be purified. Without these strictures, we're no better than the animals. I think it is Vritrasura himself that says, Yadvachi tantam guna karmoni sudushtira vatsabhyam sarva vahema parameshra protana shiva dvipade chadushpada. Says human form of life, properly lived, means that one voluntarily subjects oneself to the rules and regulations of the Vedas. True, one is pursuing sense gratification, ever going to yada, 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 but one is doing it under strictures, under regulations, so that one will eventually be purified of those impurities. So he gives the example of bulls. When the grains are harvested in a rural environment like India, they're whole grains. So to be of any use to human society, you don't need the husks, you just need the grains inside. So they're dumped into a churning area, a mill, and then there's some paddles that grind and separate the husks from the grains. Or maybe they've already been husked and then maybe they're grains and now you have to make it flour. Haven't lived in a rural Indian village. And then you hook bulls You hook bulls to poles that go out, 4 poles at right angles to each other, and then the bulls just go round and round. They just go round and round. So Vritrasaurus says the human form of life is utilized in a proper way when, like bulls attached to the grinding mill, we act according to the rules and regulations of the scriptures. Another example he gives is Loka Sapali Yashame Shanti Vijaya Fishivada Sakali Akarana. He compares our position and even the position of the great demigods, the controllers of the planets, as that of birds caught in a net. We're eternal, but we've been caught in the net of this material atmosphere, subject to birth, disease, and old age. Like birds in a net have no longer freedom of movement. They no longer have freedom of movement. So they have to remain very still, and they have to depend on the hunter. If he feels mercy and compassionate, then he can take the net off. Then once again, they're free to fly and be the birds that they were created to be. So we are created to fly. We are created to enjoy independence, life without limits. But right now we're caught in the net of this material world, in these material bodies. So there's nothing we can do to extract ourselves. No amount of flailing, throwing ourselves against the net is going to help. That'll just get us more entangled. So we have to be cool and calm, chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare, and depend on the mercy of the Lord to release us from that net of conditioned life so that we can go back to home, back to God. So the only way that we can deal with the limitations of this material world is under the systematic regulations of the Vedas. And those regulations basically divide us into 4 areas of work called Varna. There are the Brahmins, the intellectuals who actually act as doctors and astrologers as well. There are the Kshatriyas, the leaders, like the warriors and the administrators. There are the mercantile people, the Vaniks, the agriculturalists, and then there are the Sudras, the artists, and the craftsmen. And each one of them has specific areas of work and duties to which they're obliged to adhere. So the success of their life, the difference between elevating, purifying, and going to the next level, and dropping back down into the subhuman form of species of life, it hinges upon the duties which are described for them or prescribed for them in terms of Varna and Ashrama. For instance, Samodamo Tabasa Cham Santirajunam Gyanam Viganamashanam Brahma Karma Shravavidam. The regulations, the conditions under which the Brahmin work are purity, cleanliness, austerity, practical knowledge, applied knowledge. Then Krishna Gurakshavani Jambaisha Karma Pariyacharam Sudashapi Sarvam. The mercantile people, farming, raising of cows, the workers, serving the other 4 classes. And then it is said, then how do we know if the practice of varnashram, if working as a Brahmin, as a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, how do we know that it's working? It is that in the heart of someone who's working according to his talents and aptitudes and positions in society, according to the divisions of labor, if within their heart love of Krishna develops. If we work with the satisfaction of the Lord in mind, then our practice of Varnashram Dharma, our attainment of religious, pious, human life is perfect. It's successful. If we fail to arrive at that level of wanting to satisfy the Lord by doing our duties, then it is all a waste of time. Dharma shanishtara sham vishvaksena nopariya shrama eva hi kevalam. If one does one's duties perfectly as a Brahmin, as a Kshatriya, as a Vaishya, as a Sudra, but does not feel love of God, does not do it with the satisfaction of the Lord in mind, it's all a waste of time. We're not saying you have to be of a certain caste or a certain temperament, you have to work in a certain way in order to be a pure, perfect Krishna devotee. Krishna devotees come from all levels of society. They're graphic artists, they're housewives, they're mothers, they're businessmen, they're warriors, they're artists, they're musicians, they're actors. There is no template for which one becomes a pure devotee of the Lord. From any occupation, from any area of society, one can become a pure devotee of the Lord. There's only one condition: that the foremost thought, the motivation behind your work is that I satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Just like, what's the purpose of our hands? The purpose of our hands is not to act independently. They have no value when they're acting according to a mind of their own, so to speak. But when the hands, whatever the activities of the hands are, they result in putting food to the stomach. And then when the stomach is fed, then the whole body is nourished. Then the purpose of the hands reaches its perfection. So there's no purpose to doing your duties devoid, vacant of the desire to please the stomach, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the source of each and every one of us. Yata pravirtir bhutanam yenasaram shrakamana siddhim binanti manavaha. Krishna says, by performance of one's own work, of one's own duties, according to the rules and regulations of the Vedas. It doesn't say anything about abandoning your work, running off and joining the circus, but assessing what is your temperament, what are your qualities, what's your training, getting yourself in the middle of that, working, become the best that you can be in your area, the best doctor, the best architect, the best clerk, the best greeter at Walmart. Whatever it is, you become the best at it that you can be. And in all of that, aspire, Lord, please let my activities, let my offerings be satisfactory to you. That mentality is what makes the human form of life successful. And without that mentality, it doesn't matter how good you are, how adept you are at doing your occupational duty, it's all a waste of time. Kim paramata shabhubiya prakshayavara varamahortam viditam gatate shriyasayadam. Sukadeva Goswami says that if one lives a whole life of perfect diligence with respect to one's duties, to one's country, to one's family, to one's career, and has no scintilla of Krishna consciousness, is all a waste of time. Better, he says, a moment in the duration of one's life, a moment of pure Krishna consciousness makes of one's life successful, because that will be an eternal credit. That will be a permanent credit in your bank balance. And when you resume, when you intersect Krishna consciousness again in the future, you will begin from the point at which you left off. Therefore, nahabrikama nasasi pratyo shravam piyasena trayatomahem. In this endeavor, there's no loss or diminution. Even a little bit of advancement on this path will free one from the greatest danger. So this is all in connection with traditional. Here's Pedro again doing his devotional service. Incidentally, we're going to take him up to the aviary where he's going to greet hundreds and hundreds of tourists on this Memorial Day, Monday. But we're no longer in a traditional Vedic society. We're in the Kali Yuga where everything's topsy-turvy. So the Vedas are of no real practical value to us. We're unaware of or unable to perform our duties. We're not even divided. We're not even systematically divided in the proper duties according to our temperament and our inclinations. All of that is pretty much absent in modern days. So now we go back to the basics. Now we go back to the basics. I heard of this story that on the first day of training for the Green Bay Packers in the old days, their coach was the legendary Vince Lombardi. So he would get, on the first day of training in summer, long before the season started, he'd get Bart Starr, who was the MVP, who knows how many times, Hall of Famer, all the linemen, every one of them was a Hall of Famer, legend in their time. He would get them in the locker room and he'd say, "Gentlemen, this is a football." And he would pass it around. He would tell them about the football, what it's made out of, how many laces it has, how much it weighs. He would insist that every player would pass around the football. What was he doing? Telling, "Gentlemen, we have to start at the beginning. We have to go back to basics." So when we're in the Kali Yuga, we're not in a traditional, organized, peaceful, systematic Vedic culture. It's been hundreds of years since that has been possible or even practical. We are in the Kali Yuga age, which is an ocean of faults. So gentlemen, ladies, our message this morning on Motivational Monday is back to basics. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We'll leave you there, encourage you on this Memorial Day weekend, which is a time of remembrance. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Parasevanam, Dashyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. Take the opportunity, get into the spirit of this Memorial Day Monday. Increase your chanting, increase the quality of your chanting. Offer Krishna something really nice and special today, and then you and your loved ones enjoy the remnants of that prasadam. Yagashistashinoshanam munjate, bunjate teduam ye pachadyatuham. Eat Krishna pure prasadam, chant the holy names of the Lord, and make this day of remembrance a perfect, memorable one for you and your loved ones. We'll see you tomorrow for Transcendental Tuesday. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let me thank you. Prashant is on board. I have a very small window so that I can see who's on board and what the comments are. It's not more than 1.5 inches. I mean, I don't know really why it's like that. Things have changed. Rupa Manjari Prashant is right there with many of the quotes. John Malik says the annals of the Spanish Fort Temple are not of this material world. Thank you, John. Sundari Priya, thank you. Prashant again. Natasha and Larry, thank you so much. Jean, thank you very much. Let's see. Govinda Dev, beautiful to see you on Saturday and be on the Zoom call with you yesterday morning at 11 o'clock. All of our talks are on our Facebook page, Caru, Utah, or Sri Sri Radhakrishna Temple. We also have a YouTube channel. We're trying to get 1,000 subscribers. My assistant, my facilitator, Paul, wants us to get up to 1,000 subscribers for our YouTube channel. There's certain things that happen when you reach that threshold. He knows better than me. Brent, thank you for joining us. Ram Kishore, a stalwart. Natasha, and those who liked, I don't really know. It's not giving me the. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, thanks Rakesh for liking. Sundar Priya, Ajay Gupta, Sabita Ratre, Nitanjoy Ghosh, a new name. Radhesham, Sundarananda, new one. Chetan Mangala drops in frequently. Jayadvaita Sevaka, haven't seen you for a while. Thanks very much. Ram Kishore. Brent Spencer, Rupa Manjari. There's tons of likes and thumbs up coming. Reminds me of William, but I know William's off of Facebook for a month. So in William's place, thank you very much for creating a lot of activity, a lot of interactivity by hitting the likes and the stars. Please do so. Please comment. I'm kind of busy with cooking. We're expecting a lot of people to come. The buffet's been mobbed Saturday and Sunday. A little less so on Monday, but nevertheless a lot more than an ordinary Monday. So I'm going to hit the kitchen after this, but I will look forward to later on when the dust settles, looking at, reading, and responding to your comments. Please accept my appreciation from the bottom of my heart for joining me, taking time out of your valuable day to be with us for Motivational Monday. Look forward to being with you again. Rob, I'm looking over here at Facebook and I almost overlooked my man, my friend and companion here on Zoom. Anything you want to say as a last word here, takeaway for yourself?
We're incredibly lucky and blessed to have won the lottery to be human. But nonetheless, still stuck in this material existence, and we need to remember that we need to focus on Krishna in order to exit this material existence and go back to Godhead.
That's the word. That's the standard of perfection. Back to home, back to God. Thank you. Thank you very much, as always, for your succinct words. Thank you for being with me on Zoom. Thank you all for being with you on Facebook. Take your leave now. We'll see you Transcendental Tuesday. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram